Muy buenas tardes a todos. Mi nombre es Marco Loera. Hi, everyone. My name is Marco Loera. I am an organizer with Unidos Minnesota, and I am here in Rochester. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about the 9th anniversary of DACA and what it means. We have some special guests tonight. But before we continue, if you could just go in and share this video, make sure that sharing it with all your friends, family members. It's a really important time. Today, like I said, we're celebrating the 9th anniversary of DACA, which many of our population in the Latinx community are DACA-mented, right? The younger folks. So yes, share this we have our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. So as you can see down here, and YouTube actually. So let's get into it. We are gonna be introducing our panelists for today. So then our first panelist, Gustavo, if you could just introduce yourself.
Yep. Hola a todos, mi nombre es Gustavo Ángel Mojarres Villanueva. My pronouns are he, him, and it.
Gracias. And where in Minnesota are you located?
I'm located at Sunless Park, Minnesota.
Nice, thank you. Okay, and now we have Jocelyn Hernandez.
Hi, hola a todos. I'm Jocelyn Hernandez Swanson. She, hers, ella, y estoy en Brooklyn Park, Minnesota.
Gracias. And we have Lourdes as well.
Hi everyone, saludos a todos. My name is Lourdes, me llamo Lourdes. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I'm located in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Awesome. Pues muchas gracias. Again, we'll probably be going into Spanish and English all throughout this video. Spanglish, right? As most of us speak right now. So let's just start off with saying, what is DACA, right? DACA is a program that was approved back in 2012, which gave a lot of dreamers the opportunity to apply for a Social Security and be not being deportable, right? It helped you get a work permit and a permit for 2 years to be in the United States. Every 2 years, we have to reapply, pay, $499 every single time. So it was created in 2012. It was an executive action passed by President Obama. But many of the folks that really helped pass this was organizers and a lot of the dreamers. Back in 2010, the DREAM Act failed in the Senate to break the filibuster by 5 votes. This fueled a lot of dreamers to come out and pressure the Obama administration on his second term to pass some sort of citizenship or change for immigration. Back then, in 2012, President Obama then signed as an executive action DACA, right? Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. And there were certain qualifications in order to apply for DACA. You had to meet them all in order to get approved for DACA. So yes, and now years later, DACA was active all throughout the presidency of Obama. And then as we know, when the Trump administration came into office, in 2017, they wanted to get rid of DACA. And they went ahead and started filing in courts, which then new applicants for the DACA program could not apply then, right? And this fight stayed in the courts for about 2 years. Just last year, the Supreme Court ruled that the way that the Trump administration brought the lawsuit against DACA was illegal or not the right way. So that's why DACA was not shut down, right? Which then made it possible for DACA to become available for new applicants. There were some questions about how the Trump administration would, renew it, and they had changed it from 2 years to 1 year. So then when President Biden, now his administration came in, they just memo saying, you know what, all new applicants can apply again. Instead of 1 year, you're going to get 2 years, and that 4 and 4, right? So that's a little bit of the history about DACA. But I really want to go with our panelists and talk to them about how has DACA impacted their life. Everyone here is a DACA mentor folk, and I'm also someone with DACA, and I know personally how much it's affected me. But I want to give the chance to our panelists to start off. Gustavo, do you want to start us off?
Sure, I'll go first. So fun fact that I was like the one of the many people who applied during the 9 years, so in 2012 when it was introduced. So I was very encouraged to apply for myself because I saw this, this speech that was very, a great opportunity for me. Pero, como nuestros padres tienen este miedo que mandamos nuestra información de nosotros, entonces ellos estaban en que sí, que no. Entonces, por un amigo, ellos fueron motivados diciendo, esta es la razón porque tienes que tener DACA para que tengas un buen futuro. Y entonces apliqué y gracias a eso soy DACA durante los 9 años allá. Luego tenía la oportunidad de ir a la universidad por esa experiencia, pero luego fui a Oxford donde miré que había mucha ayuda por los undocumented students. So apliqué y mi experiencia fue muy complicada comparado con los otros estudiantes que son nacidos acá. Tenía que yo navigate myself through like the challenging barriers that I had encountered. Y no fue fácil, pero lo hice. Entonces, lo que me ayudó fue que podía ayudar a otros estudiantes que son indocumentados o quieren a conocer más de DACA y hablar de mi experiencia. Y al misma vez es también tener ese miedo, porque si dices tu historia, puede ser una buena experiencia, puede ser una experiencia negativa, porque todavía eres todavía indocumentado. No nomás porque dices una DACA, ya tienes papeles, no es así. Y lo hice en los 4 años de la universidad y después seguí en mis 2 años de la maestría, y este año me gradué durante la pandemia. Sí, eso es todo lo que puedo decir.
Muchas gracias. Felicidades, ¿verdad? Por graduarte as well. Y eso es una de las cosas que... let's see here. Eso es una de las cosas que nos están afectando, right? Muchos dreamers y gente con DACA es lo que estaban peleando desde chicos, ¿verdad? De poder ir a la universidad. Y eso era el gran sueño de muchos y continúa siendo ese sueño. So, muchas gracias, Gustavo. And Jocelyn, how was your experience with DACA? How has it impacted you?
Yeah, thank you. I think the experience with DACA is very dehumanizing, but also exciting. So it's a lot of mixed emotions. Creo que es una experiencia de doble filo porque por una parte estoy bien agradecida por tener DACA, tener mi licencia, poder trabajar, poder continuar mi educación, poder ayudarles a mis papás. Y también I was able to do advanced parole and go to my home country in Mexico and visit and see my grandpa and my grandma and see my family for the first time. And so it's really great, but at the same time, es un proceso like dehumanizing at the same time. So from the majority, it's been a great impact in my physical life, but I think emotionally, it's a very harmful process to go through. It's a lot of loss of control over your life. You know, you constantly have to go and renew your license way more often than everyone else, because when you're DACA, when you renew your DACA every 2 years, you also have to then change your license, and you have your status checks on your license, and it says on there status check. And obviously, as Gustavo talked about, in the experience of going to college as well, it's constantly on your mind. And I also went to Augsburg. Part of it was because of their help for DACA students. They have funds specifically set aside for non-citizens and undocumented students. So it definitely is a kind of a mixed emotion to have DACA. And I'm grateful, but at the same time, I always think, what about my parents? What about my brother? What about my friends, mis tíos? What about everyone else who isn't able to get DACA, who, because of some reason or the other, not meeting qualifications, having some sort of minor criminal history, they're not able to apply for DACA. And so I'm always thinking, whenever I go to get my license renewed, whenever I'm able to put my social security number to get a job, I'm always thinking about those other people who aren't able to do the same. So the impact has been huge, but emotionally, it's also a huge toll to be held as the good one, the good immigrant in the United States.
Thank you, no, and y tienes mucha razón. At least at first, it felt like breadcrumbs, right? What they gave us, and at the same time, it also felt like we were betraying our parents because a lot of the words of they were brought here by no choice of their own, right? Those words helped us get DACA, but it also helped, made it worse for our parents because it incriminated them in a way that, they're the original dreamers. Honestly, they're the ones who came here for the dream, and here we are, getting this work permit. Y como dices, every 2 years we have to renew our license. We're marked on our license, right? For our jobs, it's always weird because they know that you have to, have certain documentation, and it's made it a lot. It's improved our lives, but like you said, it made it worse for others, right? Because now here we are in 2021, and there's still no immigration reform, and there's 11 million plus undocumented immigrants in this country, right? And DACA only covers about 700,000. That's a very small number to what we have right now. Pero thank you. What about Lourdes? Let's see here. Let me bring you up here, Lourdes. How's DACA impacted you?
Well, when I first applied, of course, it was an exciting thing to hear about it for the first time. I don't think in that moment I really realized in what ways it would impact me. But something that I remember specifically is being in high school, and all of my peers were like studying to get their driver's license, and I remember still like not being able to do that. And that's a moment I recall specifically because it's something that I wanted to do, but wasn't able to until I had DACA. So one of the first memories I have with it is finally being able to take the courses and get my driver's license. So that was one happy moment for me in a way that DACA has impacted me. And I can bounce off what others have said too about just the downfalls, I guess, of DACA would be, for me at least, I haven't been able to travel back to my home country. And that's something that I wish we had the opportunity to do. And it's been complicated in the college application process, because I remember when I was applying to different universities, in the application it would ask like what your legal status is, and I remember some of them like did not have the option to check DACA. So in that moment, like it would be, at least for me, I felt like, I remember specifically with a certain university, I emailed the admissions counselor and basically just like word vomited my situation. I was like, hey, I don't see an option to click DACA, and I'm documented. Like, what can I do in that situation? Like, I can't put that I'm a citizen. I didn't want to put other either, because that's uncertain to me what that even looks like in the college application, what that meant. So I feel like in that aspect, it's like I am put in a situation where I kind of have to like go out of my way to explain what my status is. So it's impacted me both in a good way and in that way that I just explained. It's kind of an example of, like mixed emotions, and not being able to having to put a label on yourself that not everybody understands, and having to explain over and over what it is and what it means to be documented.
Thank you, Lourdes. And yes, I mean, I think if there's a common thing that I think we're getting from all of us here, let me see if I can bring us all to the screen. There we are. I think something that for all of us that, I think it hits is that it had many great things, and it's brought us a lot of joys, a lot of job opportunities, even school, right? But it's also affected others in a really negative way. And it almost feels like it's up to us, and it's our responsibility to just not stop here, right? To make sure that we're fighting for them, since we do have that piece of paper that can stop us from getting deported easily, right? So another question that I want to ask everyone then, We'll go in the same order. Gustavo, we'll start with you. I know that I was talking to you guys about the Trump administration, right? And how, I mean, the Trump administration was horrible to Dreamers, DACA, and immigrants overall, right? But how did you feel when you found out that Trump was dismantling the DACA program?
This is just very traumatizing for me. It was basically like anger, frustrated. I was crying because like, where's my future? Where do I see my future? And then I was talking to my parents who would just talk about it and then debrief it. But I think for me, I was just really frustrated that I didn't see like other political leaders, other important people to advocate for us, and to say like this is what the reasons why it's important, because there's many of our parents and us who are working at farms to make sure that the economy is stable for us, for people to be able to survive, have something to eat on the table, or our parents working, or us even working at restaurants and like in the kitchen. And then I think for me, it's like I was like, I need to do something, and for me, it was basically just to educate around like education, higher in college, university, and say like, what are you doing for your students? Do you have a safe space for them to speak, to talk about this, or how do you show support for them? So I took my anger in advocating for in faculty, staff in a different role. So that's why I took it as. But for me, it really took a lot of energy, a lot of mental health, that I was like, this is not good for me. So that was my experience. And then and then during the pandemic where my parents lost a job, like how am I helping them? It was really a lot of a roller coaster for me.
Thank you. And yes, and stories can be really traumatizing. Right before we started this video, I explained to everyone that sometimes these stories can be really traumatizing, and they hurt to really relive them and go through them. So I really appreciate everyone here being able to open up as well. Jocelyn, same question for you.
Yeah. Era algo muy feo. I think I resonate with it being a traumatizing experience. That day, estaba trabajando por la ciudad de Brooklyn Park, and I was at work, and we were watching it on the TV, me and a couple of other interns that I was close with, because one of the other things with DACA is it's a very vulnerable, very, it's a very up and center kind of identity to hold. People feel entitled to know that you have DACA, and you almost have to disclose it to everyone. So everyone already knew that I had DACA at my job. And so when it was happening, it felt like I just felt numb. My heart was just totally empty. It felt hopeless. It felt like a dream. It didn't feel like it was real. And then on the other hand, obviously they canceled DACA. But on la tele estaba like CNN and like other places, and there were a bunch of news anchors that were kind of trying to justify why DACA should stay. But los razones que estaban dando eran como, well, they bring a lot of money, they are highly educated, they are doctors and nurses. So it was an experience of seeing myself as an object being almost used to barter. It was like, yeah, we want to keep these documented people as well, but only because they make us money, they take care of us, and we can use them. So it was definitely a traumatizing experience, because I felt like I wasn't even a full person. It just felt like everything was being taken out from under my feet. And that's what I talked about earlier with this sense of not having any control over your future, because we really don't. And that was a perfect demonstration of it. They could just take it away, and there goes my license, my job, everything that I use to support myself and my family and my community can just be taken away at any moment. So I think that emotional toll was really, really due to that there isn't any control I have over myself. It's up to other people. And not only do they not value me as a person, but they almost see me as something that can be used. And if I'm not able to be used, then there's no point in me being here.
There we are. And it goes to be like, it gives you the perfect immigrant image, right? Of like, these are the people that we have to hold up there, but like that's what's hurting us, the perfect immigrant image, right? Like, we're bound to make mistakes. Everyone is. So, Lourdes, what do you think? How'd you feel?
All right. Well, this question makes me very emotional, so excuse me in advance. But I I kind of have the memory of that day embedded in the back of my head, in the back of my mind, because it was the first day that I had to go back to campus, my sophomore year, I believe, of college, because I lived on campus at that time. And so it was a day I was excited to go back to campus. And then, of course, watching the announcement on the TV, I was in the living room watching it with my mom and my grandma. And I remember thinking, like, I don't want to watch this with the people that I love the most, because I don't want to, like, be crying in front of them and have them see me so vulnerable. So when they made the announcement, I remember, like, thinking to myself quietly, like, stay strong, like, just kind of like walk away and get yourself together. But then, like, you know, I turned to look at my mom, and I could just tell that she knew that I was hurting really badly. So in that moment, I cried into my my hands, because I didn't want her to see me, and I just remember sobbing into my hands, trying to be quiet so my grandma wouldn't hear me. But of course she noticed, and my grandma was visiting from Mexico at that time. So I was just like, I was so hurt, mainly because, you know, here I am, like, I'm thinking my grandma probably thinks that I'm happy to be here and that life is always great. And here she is in this moment where I feel like my life is falling apart. I lost, like, physical strength. I remember just falling on my knees and starting to cry. And I mean, I had a great support system, which was my grandma and my mom. So though, like, I felt, like, embarrassed to show them how much pain I was in, it was good to have their company to kind of, like, recover from the news. And then when I got time to finally move back to campus, like, I honestly, in that moment, I didn't want to. I felt like giving up. I was kind of like, what's the purpose of finishing college if I may not even be able to, like, get a job after I graduate? That was kind of my mindset. I was in a very just hopeless mindset at that time. And once I did make it to campus, my friends, like, I remember they heard the news too, and most of my close friends know that I have DACA, so they all greeted me at the door and gave me a hug, and that was a very special moment for me, because I felt supported not only by my family but also my friends. But it definitely was just, like, overall a horrible day to remember, and that's all I can say. It was horrible.
Thank you so much for sharing with us. I know that, like I said, it can be really, really tough on us. I remember when I found out my parents were in Mexico and they had just left, and you know, I didn't know when I was going to see them again. I didn't know if it was going to be 1 year, 2 years. And I remember calling my mom, and I remember telling her, like, I don't think I can do this, right? Like, I give up. Like, this is what they want. They want us to give up. And I was like, if that's what they want, like, it's tiring, right? It's tiring having to show, you know, that you want to be here. Like, what else do they want us to do, right? And I remember calling my mom and telling her, like, you know what, I'm done. I was like, Mega, ya ganaron ellos. And by ellos, I mean everyone that's, you know, anti-immigrant, that doesn't understand that, you know, immigrants are coming here because something is going on back at home. It's not like we're choosing just to like get up and move our entire families for nothing, right? For a couple of dollars. It's not just that. But I remember my mom telling me, she's like, no, quédate, it cannot be right, right? And if it would have not been for her kind of like drilling into me, like, you can do this, you've gone so far for just to give up because it's the way. And I was like, it's true, right? And I'm glad that I'm here because now, now that DACA has been reinstated, there's more opportunities for other immigration reforms to happen. So that kind of leads me to my next question, and maybe we'll start with Lourdes this time. Is with immigration reform happening, why is it so important to keep fighting for a pathway to citizenship for all of us, right? And when I mean all of us, I mean the 11 million plus undocumented workers in the United States.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I mean, I'm sure we can all come up with so many reasons. So I'm gonna touch just briefly on what I can think of right now off the top of my head. I think during this pandemic, within the last year, something like, and this is touching back on like, immigrants just kind of being valued through the work that they perform. So that in itself is very unfortunate, but it goes to say, like, undocumented workers were left out of all the like coronavirus financial aid acts that were instated, and many undocumented workers did not receive the financial aid. They were not eligible for unemployment benefits, and I can only begin to imagine how much that affected a lot of undocumented families. Fighting for a pathway to citizenship so that we, hopefully the situation that we've been living in this last year does not repeat itself. But we deserve as a community to be able to apply for unemployment benefits if we are ever in a situation like this or similar to this. So that is one of the reasons why it's important to keep fighting this fight.
Thank you so much. Jocelyn?
Yeah, I think it's super hard to even put a reason or even give reasons, because in my head there isn't a justification. The reasoning is because we're humans and we deserve the right to immigrate. We deserve the right to move around this world as we need to for our health, for our happiness, and our ability to thrive. And because we aren't, there isn't a set of us that are better than the other ones. It's not because I went to college. It's not because I had a job in a local city government that makes me somewhat better than someone else. Because I know for a fact that my mom would do better in those jobs than I would. Right now, I work as a civic engagement educator, and I know my mom would have a better understanding and would be able to teach people better than even I could. So it's not because I'm better. It's not because we're better, because we're young, because we came here as children, because we speak English really well, because we can blend in really well. It's not because of that we should be treated as better. It's separating us for no good reason. And we all deserve the ability to live without fear. And for me, it's so hard to give reasons because there's so many. Every single reason that we have is because we're human, and we deserve to be able to live freely and happily and without fear.
Thank you. And Gustavo?
Yeah, I think for me, it's like I just in my mind, I can't like think like if you fit these qualifications, you belong to the U.S. If you don't fit in these qualifications, you can't be here. So that's in my mentality. That doesn't work. Like everyone has this different like goals and future ahead of themselves. Like in my case, like I want to build my own house. I have like a better lifestyle for my parents so they can have this house. They don't have to do more sacrifice. And for example, with Lulu, this could be a different future, be like having her own apartment, her own job. It's like it's like we all have different like goals at the end. And we're not all the same. But I think for me it really creates a better, it creates like an opportunity, but also it's like it's Jocelyn said, it's like it's a double edged. It could be like it's a good but also it's bad. But here's the things that you need to work on. That's like you need to contribute to say like you feel like belong here, to be a good citizen, and then bring the evidence. So it's like it's good and it's bad, but also it's daunting because it takes a lot of energy from you, or from my case, ours. And then when it's like political stuff that impacts us really a lot, it takes a lot of emotional drain. And then like, trying to explain people's like and then you don't have to explain it. So I think it's like if we had more people qualified for DACA, then it would create more. I don't know. I'm trying to articulate my words, but hope. That's I can gather my thought into.
Thank you. I think for me, what it would be as well, it would be that we would be able to go to everyone, right? Not just a limited amount of people can actually be reconnected with their loved ones. I mean, that's, I think, one of the biggest dreams that everyone has. That's here, undocumented, is being able to see su mamá, su papá, su abuelo, sus hermanos, right? I'm not sure for everyone. It's been over like a decade since I've seen my brothers, right? And it's like, it's hard. It's super hard because you give everything that you have, right? And they tell you do this, do that, and you're still not good enough, right? We must not let that happen to our parents, right? We must continue to fight for a bigger, robust, like fair immigration reform, which kind of leads me to the next topic that we're going to be talking about, which is what are the reforms right now, right? We're talking about why is it important for everyone to have citizenship, and it's important because they deserve it, they've earned it. It's been over like 3 decades since like Congress has actually made a immigration policy that really like covered immigration reform, right? It's always been either an executive action or no action, right? So the couple things that are happening in Congress right now are pretty cool. So there's the American Dream and Promise Act, right? HR 6, that has just passed the House of Representatives with bipartisan support. So it was supported by Democrats and Republicans at this point, right? Which is which is unheard of, really, right now. There's no bipartisanship in Congress, right? So this shows you that Americans are united and say, you know what, the majority of Americans agree, right, that there should be a pathway to citizenship for people with DACA, TPS, DED, right? So in order for, and actually there's the Farm Modernization Workers Act, which would also give a pathway to citizenship for agricultural workers, which is also huge. That and together that would be more than like 4 million. It would legalize 4 to 5 million workers and undocumented immigrants, right? Through those two. Where they stand right now is they have passed the House of Representatives, which they are now in the Senate. And actually today, the Judiciary Committee in the Senate had a hearing for the American Dream and Promise Act, which would, give the pathway to citizenship for documented folks. And it's been a high and a low, and we don't know what's going to happen in the Senate. In order for this to pass, it would need to we would need the 60 votes, and that would be 10 votes from Republicans, and all Democrats would have to vote again for it. So it's a little hard to imagine, right, that we can get anywhere with this, but this is where we come in, right? This is where we start calling our senators. So Senator Klobuchar is actually in that committee. So how can, and we know that she's been a champion for many things, and some of them have been immigration, but how do we move her to, be a champion and above, right? Put us first before anything else. Like, essential workers in the state really brought the state back from where it was. I mean, they essential workers work in all sorts of industries, right? When a lot of people didn't. So meat factories, farm workers, a lot of the agriculture undocumented community really helped the state stay stable, right, during the pandemic. So we have to call our senators, even our representatives, right? Make sure that you're calling them, letting them know, even though they might not vote for the reform or the DREAM Act or the Farm Modernization Act. I have Hagedorn in my district, which there's no way in hell that he's going to be voting for it. So, but that doesn't stop me from trying to move him, right? And make sure that we're calling him, because every call gets registered. Every email has to get registered, right, by law. So they hear them, and the goal would be to mobilize the entire community in all different parts of Minnesota, because ahí estamos todos estamos en diferentes partes del estado. Like, there's not one big, obviously Minneapolis, but other than that, estamos en todos los lugares, working in all kinds of fields. So there's those two, but there's also one vehicle that's, a possibility for immigration reform. And es lo que les estaba contando a todos ustedes también, which is the the citizenship for essential workers. The bill, básicamente, ese bill would give a pathway to citizenship to all essential workers at the moment and past, and their families. And that would be a pathway for about 5 to 8 million undocumented workers. That is huge, right? That would change dramatically how everything looks. And the thing with this opportunity, with this vehicle, is that instead of the 60 votes to break the filibuster, we would only need those 50 votes by all 50 Democrats and the tie-breaking vote by Vice President Harris. So what can we do to get this passed, right? We first need to pressure all leadership. So President Biden, need to pressure our senators, Speaker Pelosi, the leader in the Senate, Chuck Schumer, right? Call them, let them know that this is really important, that they need to allow the essential workers, citizenship for essential workers in the next reconciliation budget. For the reconciliation budget, only certain things can be allowed in that budget or in that bill. So there's also a parliamentarian that needs to agree and put that out there. So we're actually going to be putting a call to action at the moment as well, to call Tina Smith, our senator, and Amy Klobuchar, reminding them that they need to vote for the constituents. They need to vote for immigrants, because we are the people that put them in where they are right now, right? We made the calls, we made the door knocks, we made the text messages that got them elected there. For my panelists, have any of y'all ever done any sort of volunteering with you have to call your senator, or done any sort of experience regarding that activism-wise? And how was that experience with y'all? And then whoever wants to go first, they can go right ahead.
I'll go. I don't think I've ever done something where I have to call a senator, but I've been involved in organizing here and there for immigration. I remember when we were doing the Prosperity Act to get driver's licenses, and talking to senators and politicians face to face, and telling them our stories, just like here, the panelists. And it feels like you're contributing. It feels like you're doing something and being active in helping not only yourself, but your community. So even though it seems a little daunting to talk to politicians, and sometimes they feel a little disconnected from us, they are our politicians, and they do serve us, all of us, no matter immigration status. We are all paying taxes. We are all residing in the places that they are serving, and they really are public servants. So I encourage everyone to do whatever you can, whether it be calling or sending a letter, attending some sort of protest or action. Anything that you can do really is helping in some way, because everything that we've had, DACA, getting driver's licenses, in-state tuition, all of it has been because of people making their voices heard. None of it has been given to us. It has all been organizing and taking action. So don't be too scared.
Yeah, break it down. politicians are not our saviors, right? They did not pass DACA. It was not them. It wasn't Obama who said, you know what, let me go ahead and sign this. It was years of pressure by dreamers, right? By us who moved them. And it wasn't just, can you please sign? No, it was like, if you don't sign this, this is what we're going to do, right? Because we know that even Democrats are not our saviors. The DREAM Act did not pass because the Democrats in the Senate back in 2010 did not have the guts, right, to vote for that DREAM Act. Just imagine how much that could have saved, or it would have helped us, right? It would have been like DACA on steroids, because we would have had a pathway to citizenship, right, and all these things. But no, it was because of, and it keeps on being because there's not enough Democratic senators. Of course, we know that usually Republicans vote against all immigrant, led bills, right, that help us, but we cannot put just them or Democrats as this, like, they're pro-immigrant for everything, because no, they haven't. They've screwed us over in the past. So a mi gente que nos está escuchando, for my people, do not think that just because se dicen demócratas son, van a votar en tu favor, or Republicans, too. Like, gosh, I wish we could just, move more and being able to pass driver's license even at the state level. ¿Cuántos años ya van que no hemos podido pasar, las licencias, and everything is affected desde arriba para abajo. So because of our immigration status, right, no podemos aplicar para las licencias, right? Or even for DACA folks, we have to reapply every 2 years. And what if, in my case, ahorita lo que está pasando is I renewed, and it's taking forever for the renewal to go by. And some people actually lose their DACA status even in the way. And it's because either the pandemic has slowed the process up, like, for months and months. But what does that look like, right? So yeah, just a lot of information. But can you actually share that call to action for me? So we have a call to action, which is what we are asking folks to do, which is call your senator. And como dijo esta Jocelyn, it can be daunting, it can be kind of scary. But it's necessary to do, right? Kind of like what we said about DACA. It wasn't the politicians who moved DACA, it was the organizers. So es lo mismo que está pasando otra vez. Like, si no nos movemos nosotros como comunidad, no vamos a mover nada. We seen cuando el pueblo se mueve, we get shit done. So es muy importante que todos que nos estén viendo apoyen en cualquier manera que puedan, right? Cualquier cosa que puedan hacer it's already big enough. Don't think that just by doing one call you're not doing enough. That's already more than a lot of people are doing. So really important for people to be calling. So in this screen here, we actually have the script to call our senators here. If we could just go a little bit down. We actually have it in English. We have it in Spanish as well. These are your senators. Let them know you want their support for the Citizenship for Essential Workers Act being included in the reconciliation process. Muy importante, mi gente, que si pueden llamar, háganlo. Aquí está el guión que decir. Nomás pongan su nombre y en qué lugar están aquí en Minnesota. Si no pueden poner su casa, no pueden poner la iglesia, una iglesia en su distrito, para sentirse más confiado. No porque no somos ciudadanos per se, significa que no podemos hacer una diferencia, ¿verdad? Así que muchas gracias a todos que están aquí con nosotros, compañeros. Gracias por compartir sus historias. Yo sé que pueden ser muy, it can take a lot out of you, and I just really want to respect and thank you all for being here. And any last words you guys want to say? Gustavo?
I'll say keep on fighting. There's still a lot of work to do. Whatever it is that you're doing, the work does make a difference.
Gracias. Jocelyn?
Yeah, I agree with Gustavo to keep on fighting, because honestly, we deserve it. We deserve to fight for ourselves. I think, as people who have DACA or people who are undocumented, we never talk about how we deserve things, and we do. We deserve to live our lives without fear and without lawyer fees, especially. And And so I keep fighting for ourselves and obviously for our community, because we're all in this together. We all live in the same kinds of vicinities. No matter where you are in Minnesota, there are immigrants there. And we have helped bolster not only the economy, but these small towns in Minnesota. And we deserve to thrive. So thank you.
Thank you. Lourdes?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to participate in this panel, and to everyone who joined in and listened. Thank you for your time, and thank you for all your support, words of encouragement, and continuing to fight for us and working with us.
Thank you. And again, just want to thank everyone. I hope you guys have a great night. And I'm sure that I'm going to be seeing you guys one way or another, either making phone calls, taking action. Así que si no saben cómo hacer cosas or don't know what to do, get a hold of Unidos, just send us a message, and we can tell you what actions we're doing and what actions are going to be happening in the future. So muchas gracias a todos y muy buenas noches. Gracias.